Hi, it's Juris and welcome to Tattoo Shop Talk, and today we will have a look at another yet unusual tattoo machine. And again, this one involves magnets. This wonderful piece of technology, it comes from Switzerland and it's made by a gentleman known as Q. And you can find him on Instagram as Q Luna. The nice thing about manufacture of this machine is that he's tattooing himself and knows a bit about tattooing and industry overall. And this would be one of those from tattooist for tattooist products, which is nice. This is the actual first-hand tool that's used in tattooing, and the product is developed by tattooists, so he definitely knows what's up and he knows what type of people want to use it and how they want to use it. This would be one of them good examples where it's from tattooist for tattooist. This will be like a first impressions type of video. Full review will follow later because it's such an unusual piece of technology that I need to work with it a bit more to make like a review type of video. So this will be first impressions. I have it for around 1 month. I tried all sorts of stuff and we will look at the things I liked about it, touch on things I didn't like as much, and last thing will be who this machine is for. So stick around. If this type of video is something for you, then feel free to subscribe to the channel and press a little bell button so you don't miss out on new videos when they come out. And if you have anything to say and you want to share your thoughts, then feel free to leave that in a comment section. So let's start with what you get. When you get in touch with manufacturer and you get this machine, it comes in a little cardboard box. Nothing fancy, nothing too much, and money is spent where it should be. There's no fancy packaging and that kind of stuff. So you get this machine, it comes in a nice little red pouch, a bunch of business cards, and a bunch of really strong magnets, and a little list of instructions. So I would recommend to start with that list. And it says be careful with magnets because they're super strong and you can also chip them if you're not careful. And that's exactly what we did with my colleague when we played around with these little things. As a machine itself, when you get it, it feels very well built. It's a super solid piece of gear, and also even before you ordering, if you get in touch with the manufacturer, he can explain every little bits and pieces of it, why it's made like that. I got even a little run through the history and the way he came up with this piece. It took him many years to engineer all sorts of, I would say, crazy machines, and then his realization was that you have to simplify things because if you make them too complicated, it's not good for anyone. And the final result at this moment in time is this machine. Things that stand out is obviously magnets, and then the screw. It looks so different from the rest of the thing. It's also there for a reason, because the magnets and the screw bit is simplified to the point that like you can get it in almost any hardware store, or you can order them from Amazon, so you don't get any of that. If something goes down, you are like stuck with like one manufacturer or some specific threads, screws, or other elements. So this is all widely accessible. Also, when you order, there's options like if you are right-handed or left-handed, the manufacturer can flip this thing around. So depending on which hand you work with, it's on one or another side. Also, if you feel like you can flip this post other way around, so they are kind of more on the bottom side of machine, but I find that this placement works fine and it doesn't get in the way. So I'm lucky and I like it as it is. Also, one little thing to mention is the part where you put grips in, and it's designed the way so it could fit any grip. It would work with metal grips, with plastic grips. It would basically fit and hold any size. And that was one of the things that annoyed with some of my coil machines, that you work with metal grips, you change it to the plastic one and it doesn't fit. So you either have to fiddle with this part or put some tape on a grip. But this one is designed the way so it would fit all the variations. It's originally designed to work with the regular needles, but if you're creative enough, you can make it work with cartridge needles as well. So that's also kind of a plus for those who's more comfortable with regular needles, but consider the idea of trying cartridges. Like I said, it's not originally meant for that, but you can make it work. And that's kind of a plus for those people who consider getting into that cartridge world, but they don't want to change their whole system, or maybe they just want to try out the workflows, how it actually is to work with cartridges, to just swap them around and have all that comfort of cartridges. But as a backup, you always have a classic machine to work with regular needles. And that's where the fun part comes in, because it's designed to work with any grouping of needles. As you would guess, the screw adjusts stroke length, move it around and fix it in place. And magnets would be the part where you regulate how strong it hits. I find that if you unscrew to the very end, it's easier to get the magnet off. Press on this thing and you can swap them around. Be careful where you put them, because they can go flying when they see metal around. So magnets fits in this part. And there's different sizes of them, and you can work starting from single liners up to the like 14 round liners or 35 magnums with the big magnets. In my experience, I tried starting from 3 to 14 liners and 15 magnums. I don't do works where I would need 35 magnum, and I don't think my supplier even had those things in stock, but that's something I will look into just out of curiosity and just to have those beasts around. So back to the magnets. So the magnets would dictate how strong it hits. And I want to mention that I've never felt so comfortable pulling lines with 14 liner, no matter if we're talking coil machines or cartridge machines. This one was the best experience so far. And with smaller magnets, with things like 3 liners, they work just fine. And because it remains the same hit, you can easily do all that stipple whip shading with liners, and that's also cool, and that's amazing because it comes from same machine. And now let's look at the way it works and the things I didn't like as much about it. And the first thing that you notice when you plug it in is the sound that it makes. It's not too bad at 6 volts, but if we crank it up, let's say at 10.5, as instruction says, it's recommended to start around 10 and see which way you want to go. And this is way more noticeable. I think if you work with coils, it's not gonna be a big difference, but if you're used to like rotaries and quiet cartridge machines, then this would be on the loud side. And the type of this machine is the one that slaps on its own frame, and that slap there, that makes it hit like a coil machine. It has a bit of give because of magnets, and it has that final sort of slap there, and that's the main point that makes it as good as coil machine. There's a workaround with it, and that would be a rubber band. I like these flat ones, so they dampen the sound a bit, but they're not too thick to get in the way of the way machine works. So I would just put a bunch of them around. Now we have something like this, and the way it sounds now is way more quiet. And I put a bunch, so if one of them snaps when you work, you can just slide next one up, but 1 or 2 is just enough. And then you would obviously need rubber bands around the needle bars, so that's held in place. And another trick with rubber bands would be kind of smaller adjustments. When you work, just have a rubber band around here, and that would help on some longer strokes, and that would give that extra push to get that magnet going. Or if you want to adjust it to cartridge needles, then I would even put maybe 2 of these elastic bands, obviously depending on how strong they are, and that's just to fight that resistance of cartridge, of its membrane or rubber band or whatever type of cartridge you use, and that's the little hack to get them moving with cartridges. And if you work with regular needles, so you have the rubber band up on top here, or if it feels like it hits too strong, you can also move it kind of in a neutral position, or if you need something really soft, you can even move one or all of it to the down here, and that would sort of balance out that hit. There are many options and many ways to use it, and it's nice that it's easy adjustable. There's no crazy things involved. You have the screw here easily accessible, and you can easily regulate it. You can swap around rubber bands to your liking, and to switch the magnet itself, it's also not too hard. You just pop one out, be careful with it, and pop the next one in, and boom. That's it. So let's touch on the things I didn't like as much. One of them would be that noise, and you have to hack around it, but it's an easy fix. Another one would be that there's a learning curve, but that would be probably with every machine to get used to. But this one is kind of on the unusual side, so it's a bit more to it, and it's probably less people you can ask advice about it. Yet the manufacturer of it will answer all your questions, and that's one thing I value a lot in any kind of product, is that you can get in touch with its manufacturer, you can get all the answers and all the explanations and all the how-to questions on how to use that specific product. If you're curious about it, there's a link in the description to the manufacturer's Instagram. You can reach out to the queue and ask all the questions you have. So sound, learning curve, and one thing I noticed lately, I was holding on some different than usual angle, and these bits are pretty sharp, so you feel them digging into your hand. Again, minor thing, but it's there. I don't think it's a big deal, and it might be easy to fix as well. So that's those things I didn't like about it. And on the hippie side of it, the way I use it, it would require a lot of rubber bands, and that would be for them who cares about use of plastic, but for me it's not a big deal, and rubber bands is pretty cheap and they're available in various sizes, so you can find the ones that work for you and you can dispose them, and kind of no big deal on that department. And now who this machine is for. I would say this one is for the people who like coil machines, like the way it works, like the weight of them, like the speed of them, like the way they pull lines, but they're tired of all the sensitive parts of working with coil machine, let's call it moodiness of it. You often see tattooists set up, and I'm sure you have it in your experience if you work with coils. When you set up, everything is perfect, then you want to start the tattoo, and all the little bits starts and all the bzz, bzz and weird noises, and then you see people doing this stuff, doing this stuff, doing this stuff. So this one is made to avoid all those things. It don't have those elements that can make the machine moody, so there's no like build up on a spring or on a screw, or screw loosens up, which might happen, but it's way easier to fix that, and there's less elements to pay attention to. It's not like, I don't know, weather changed or you looked at your machine funny, it suddenly works different. So that would be the first type of tattooist that comes on mind. I understand that there's a full spectrum of people who love that fiddling with coils and like that machine building element, and that's absolutely fine. That's a different breed of tattooist, but this one would be for the person who's tired of all that stuff. They don't want that drawer anymore where it's springs and screws and files and whatnot. So that would be one. And second one would be probably like a collector of some type. That would be the people who want to own every bit of tattoo machine evolution, and this is definitely interesting, unusual kind of type of a machine, yet it works fine. It's not one of those crazy inventions when you look at it and you're like, nah. So this one works, and it's unusual. And on the note of communicating with manufacturer, if you go to the Instagram of manufacturer, you can see all the little how-to tips and tricks how to use this machine. And you can also ask questions. You can comment or message the manufacturer, and I'm sure he will get back to you. If you're interested, check in the video description. There's a link to the manufacturer's Instagram, and check what this unusual piece of technology is all about. This machine made me switch back to regular needles for lining. Like I mentioned before, I never felt so comfortable pulling lines with 14 liner, and it also made me excited to go into that world of that whip dot stipple type of shading with small needles. That's what I like, that there are still new products coming out. There are people working on like innovation. They try new methods and come up with products like these. So definitely check this one out. And maybe you have some interesting machines to mention or some manufacturers with unusual methods, then leave that in the comment section as well. This was my first impressions on this machine. Full review will follow. If you don't want to miss that one, then subscribe to the channel, press likes, comment and all that, and see you in the future videos. Bye!